Welcome back to the pastor's porch, and what a beautiful morning it is. It's a cool 65 degrees, and I've got my coffee and I've got my iPad sitting here on the back porch, and like I did yesterday, it's time to open a few windows in the house and let the fresh air come and circulate through, and to not worry about the AC running nonstop. I also have to say that it's good to be recording another one of these videos. These past couple of videos pertain to prayer for specific members or situations in our parish, and it's been about a month or so since I've been able to jot down a few thoughts and reflections for a video like this. And so I hope that as we get back to it, and as I share my life and just some of my random thoughts with you, that we both can grow in our faith and connect just a little bit more with God. Last week I didn't record a video because I was traveling. I was actually with Bishop Sutton in Charleston, South Carolina, and we were doing some preliminary venue planning for our General Council 2023 event, as well as attending the yearly synod of our Diocese of the Southeast. And while we were walking around downtown Charleston, visiting some churches and hotels, we got to visit with a dear friend of ours named Willie Hill. Willie is the pastor of St. John's Reformed Episcopal Church, one of our parishes in the downtown area. And I actually went to seminary for a little bit at the same time with Willie back in the 90s. And we've known him for nearly 30 years. And some of you watching this video know that Willie is one of the funniest and most outgoing guys that you're ever going to meet. I mean, as we walk back from lunch, he must have stopped to talk to 10 different random people on the streets, laughing and carrying on with everyone. Anyways, as we walked around St. John's, we went back to the garden area that they have behind the sanctuary. And at the entrance to the garden, and all along the main street in front of the church, there are these famous wrought iron fences, and in particular, the gate to the garden known appropriately as the garden gate. Now, these particular fences are not famous because of their size or their magnitude, but mainly because they were constructed by a lifelong member of St. John's Church. His name was Philip Simmons. Philip Simmons was a well-known blacksmith whose wrought iron work decorates many areas in the city of Charleston, such that Mr. Simmons received the highest accolades and the highest honors one could get for this, including the Smithsonian Institute or Museum and the South Carolina Hall of Fame. And to this day, even, professors of universities will bring their students to Charleston and to our parish, St. John's, just to see and discuss his work. And I've included a link in the description of this video to a short 6-minute video about Mr. Simmons. So if you're interested, I encourage you to watch it, and you'll get to see some of the work that he did around Charleston and learn a little bit more about him. And when the video mentions the garden gate, it'll actually show the gate at our parish. And those who go to General Council in 2023 will actually have an opportunity to see it in person. Now, why do I mention all this? And what does wrought iron have to do with my pastor's porch? Well, it has to do with what Pastor Willie told Bishop and I, and what he learned from Mr. Simmons. The work Mr. Simmons did was done all by hand, sketched freehand, and then each piece heated up and curved and hammered out, all by hand. And Mr. Simmons said that the question that he was asked most was how he could hammer all day long, every day. And his answer was that he knew his own rhythm. He said that many people just try to hammer away with no particular rhythm to it, and they would grow weary. And he too would grow tired if he did the same. Mr. Simmons said that he knew his own rhythm. It was something like bump, 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 bump. And so long as he kept his rhythm, he could hammer all day long and not grow tired. And his advice to others who sought to learn blacksmithing from him was to encourage them with that key to success: find your rhythm. And for some reason that has sat with me this past week. Find your rhythm. You have to know and live with rhythm. If you find your rhythm, you can labor all day long and not grow tired. And I began to think about our own rhythms and how that impacts us. For example, anyone who knows me, especially my family, knows that I am all about time. Time is a big part of my daily rhythm. I know that I'm going to fall asleep between 11 o'clock and midnight most nights. And I know that I'll begin waking up around 6:30 to 7 o'clock most mornings. And if I sleep in on a Saturday past 7:30 a.m., then I begin to feel guilty and unproductive, as though I've somehow wasted the day away. And I know that on Sundays, I'm going to be at the church hours before anyone else to practice my sermon and to get ready for Sunday school and for church. I also know that I aim to exercise most days between noon and 1 p.m. Not just because the gym is less crowded at those hours, but because I need that moment to break up my day, to detach my mind for just a little bit. And it's also when I'm most effective at exercising. I have a very hard time exercising in the morning. My body just doesn't want to get going. And I know I won't do it at nighttime, because if I do, I won't put in 100% effort, or I won't do it at all. Now, all of this is an example of my rhythm, because that's the only personal example I can give you. But I hope it gets you thinking in a particular direction about yourself, with your relationships with your spouse, with the things that you do, with your job, with your walk with the Lord. The truth is that what Mr. Simmons said, if you don't have a rhythm, if you don't have your bump, 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 then you can grow weary. If you try to force it or seek to do things in any old way, changing it up every day or something like that, you'll grow tired and become sluggish. If you are constantly running around from one thing to the next, if you are just heading into each day without some sort of structure and rhythm, then you end up in a bit of chaos. Without a rhythm, we become more unproductive. We aspire to things, but we don't really accomplish them. We get distracted, or we bounce around, or we get overburdened, or we look at what we want to do and we think, well, there's just no way that I can accomplish all that. And so we don't even try, or we leave it half done. And if we didn't get it accomplished, then guilt starts to flood our heart and our soul, because we didn't do what we had set our minds to do. And then we start to beat ourselves up, and the cycle goes even worse. Actually, what I have found to be the case, at least personally, is that when I start to get stressed out, or when I start to feel overwhelmed, or when things don't seem to be going as well as I would like with me, or with the church, or even with Liz and the kids and the family, or whatever it is, it's usually not that the external is too much to handle. It's that I've actually lost focus on my own rhythm. And when I realize that, and I get back to focusing on that rhythm that works for me day by day, things don't seem to weigh as much on my shoulders. Now, I've said nothing of our walk with God yet, but the same principle applies to that. We need a rhythm in our walk with God, a rhythm which creates this beautiful harmony and synchronization between our everyday and God. Our prayer life, our worship life, our study, our time of detaching from the everyday, such that our time can be focused on God, and God can help us walk through the everyday. There's a reason that the first psalm says, "Blessed is the man whose delight is in the law of the Lord, who meditates in it day and night. He shall be planted like a tree at the edge of the streams." That's a rhythm that we need. We want our walk with the Lord to be constant, but we don't want it to be constantly changing. When we don't have that rhythm, when our walk and our relationship with God is erratic, or if it's periodic, or unstructured, or we might even use the word unkempt, then it has no real positive impact on us. I mean, sure, it's there. Sure, God is, quote, in my life. But yet that relationship isn't really impacting our daily life. It's a come and go, rather than a daily constant rhythm that allows us to walk tirelessly day by day from a position of strength. We need to establish that personal rhythm in our walk with God. What does it look like? How can you listen and hear that rhythm every day? How can you turn up the volume of that rhythm and express that rhythm so that it drives your everyday routine? Find your rhythm. Focus on that rhythm and walk with the Lord in that rhythm. So those are my thoughts from the porch this week, and I hope that it's been helpful to you, at least in some way, and that you have been able to draw closer to God today. And if you want, remember, click on that link in the description to learn a little bit more about the great Mr. Simmons in South Carolina. Until next time, God bless. And for those in the Katy area who watch this, I can't wait to see you on Sunday morning in worship.